In this video, we'll discuss partial pressure of oxygen and a quantity of oxygen and how related in different reaction with hemoglobin. So what's the partial pressure of oxygen? The partial pressure of air at sea level is 760 and partial pressure of water at sea level is 47. So 760 minus 47 is 713 and the amount of oxygen in the air at sea level is 21%. So multiplying this 713 with 0.21 gives partial pressure of oxygen in the air 150 millimeters of mercury. And what's the partial pressure of oxygen in the alveolus? The partial pressure of oxygen in the alveolus is 100 millimeters of mercury, and the partial pressure of oxygen in the arterial blood is 97 millimeter of mercury. So why PO2 is 97 instead of 100 millimeters of mercury in the arteries? This is because of the physiological shunt. The deoxygenated blood from lungs and cardiac chambers mixes with the oxygenated blood so that it goes down to 97 millimeters of mercury. How oxygen enters the body? It enters the body by a process of diffusion. And what's diffusion? Diffusion is the transfer of a solute across from high pressure to low pressure. It's a passive process and does not require energy. What's the amount of oxygen in the arterial blood? Oxygen in the arterial blood is 20 ml per 100 ml. And how oxygen is carried in the blood? Oxygen is mainly carried in the blood bind to hemoglobin. Hemoglobin increases the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood by 70 folds. How does it enter? It dissolves in the plasma and then enters the RBC, and then oxygen combines with hemoglobin. How much oxygen hemoglobin carries? Each gram of hemoglobin carries 1.34 ml of oxygen, and there are 15 grams of hemoglobin per 100 ml. So 1.34 times 15 gives 20 ml of oxygen per 100 ml of blood. Oxygen is also carried in a small amount in a dissolved form, that is 0.3 ml per 100 ml. What are the factors that affect the oxygen carrying capacity? Oxygen carrying capacity depends on hemoglobin concentration, affinity of hemoglobin to oxygen, amount of oxygen in the blood, and the amount of dissolved oxygen. What's the effect on the hemoglobin and oxygen binding after the first oxygen bind with the hemoglobin? Does it increase or decrease for the rest of the oxygen? Binding of oxygen capacity of hemoglobin increases with the addition of each oxygen, so it's maximum for the fourth oxygen. So what's the amount of oxygen in the venous blood? It's 15 milliliter per 100 ml. So how much oxygen is used in the tissue, or how much oxygen enters the body per minute? Let's see that arterial blood is 20 ml and venous blood is 15 ml per 100 ml. So the difference is 5 ml per 100 ml. That is 50 milliliter per liter, and there is 5 liters of blood. So 50 times 5 is 250 ml of oxygen enters the body per minute, and that is the amount which is used. What's the effect of exercise on PO2, PCO2 and arterial pH? During exercise, mean values of PO2, PCO2 and arterial pH do not change much, but venous PCO2 increase in exercise. PO2 in the exercising muscle is close to zero. So how exercising muscles get oxygen? During exercise, the blood supply of the contracting muscle is cut off, so it doesn't get oxygen by the blood. The exercising muscle gets oxygen from myoglobin, which is a muscle protein. Myoglobin is very similar in structure to hemoglobin, but it releases oxygen only at a very low PO2, that is close to zero. So it releases oxygen in the muscles during the exercise.